Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to round 2. Your opponents, the Winnipeg Jets versus the Montreal Canadiens. The two teams no one saw being in the second round in the North Division are meeting up. The impossible has happened. The Leafs and Oilers are out. The Sportsnet darlings are gone. And the teams that really they don't want to talk about are the ones left fighting. So I am going to break down this series going into it, talk a little bit about what each team was like in the regular season, what to expect going into a 7-game matchup between these two teams, and in the end, what I think the overall outcome of the series will be. So if you're brand new to this channel and you like hockey and are a Jets fan, or you love hockey, regardless of the team that you root for, definitely consider dropping a subscription as it really does help this channel grow, and any support you can give the channel is always greatly appreciated. Make sure to drop a like as well if you haven't already. Follow all of my socials down in the description below. And without any further ado, let's jump into our first real technical and analytical breakdown of this series. And that is just the basic bare bones record from the two teams matching up 9 times in the regular season. Now, in that 9-game matchup, the Jets actually won 6 of those 9. And it was a very, very, very good matchup at time against the Habs. But you can also go back and say, holy crap, not some good matchups, because, ladies and gentlemen, do I have to remind you about what happened on March 6th, back in that 7-1L, the famous -5 Nathan Beaulieu game? I don't think I have to remind you about that one. There were times where the Habs looked very, very good against us, and there were times where the Jets looked like an absolute powerhouse, especially when you go and look at some of these big wins they had. April 10th, 5-0. Being able to get some clutch wins in OT as well is an important. The first matchup against the Habs being a 6-3 win. There was a lot of good and bad in the Habs series, and that is mostly due to the fact that the Habs at different parts of the season were a different team, and Habs fans, you know this. There were times where the Habs were a very good, deadly team that a lot of people thought were the second best team in the North Division for a while. Then they started to settle down a little bit. People thought maybe they were the 3rd to 4th best, and then they dropped out of the playoff contention and had to fight for that final playoff spot until they really didn't have to, because their competition in Calgary and Vancouver and Ottawa really dropped off the map and didn't have a chance on getting to the playoffs at that point. So after a while, they were kind of just the lock for the 4th seed, cruising at that spot. Not a lot of faith going into the first round against the Leafs. They come out, they win it after a great performance in a lot of different games, after very clutch goaltending from Carey Price. So if I look at this team compared to the team that the Jets saw and played 9 times in the regular season, I think that this is going to be a different matchup entirely. Not only because of the fact when you look at that Oilers versus the Jets regular season matchup compared to the playoffs, that was huge, right? We all know how different that was. There's a reason why I didn't think my team would win that series. There's a reason because of how they played in the playoffs. So when you look at this series, you look at the Habs' recent play, you look at the Jets' recent play, I think that although the Jets did have the numbers at times, I expect to see more of the closer OT-type matchups we saw against the Habs at times, mostly due to the fact that I think Carey Price and Connor Hellebuyck are going to be really having the battle of the goaltenders, and that's going to really make this series' identity, I think, is going to be goaltending. Every series is either known for 3 things: great defensive play, goaltending, or highlight offensive scoring, because you just score 5-6 goals a game and you know, like that. But I think this series is going to be very slow scoring, 2 to 3 goal maximum games with great goaltending, and it's going to be a great one to watch. But that's kind of the basic breakdown of that going into it with the past and the history that we have between this team in the regular season. And now I kind of want to jump in and talk about the top 3 points producers on each club. When you look over at the Jets' top 3-point producers, you've got Mark Scheifele, who in 56 games was able to put up 21 goals and 42 assists. Nikolai Ehlers, who in 47 games played was able to put up 21 goals and 25 assists, which is very impressive considering he only played 47 games. And then, of course, Kyle Connor in 56 games being able to get 26 goals and 24 assists. So a pretty good offensive dynamic group there in that top 3 of their best producers on Winnipeg. But we all know this as Jets fans. You are wanting to know about the Habs side of things, where the Jets match up on the Habs side. Obviously, the Habs have really one big goal-scoring threat, and that is Tyler Toffoli, the guy who led them in points. Tyler Toffoli this year had 28 goals, which is a very, very good year for him, especially considering it was a shortened season. And not to mention he played 52 games, not even a whole season, 28 goals, very good. Also able to tally 16 assists for the top point producer on the Montreal Canadiens. Then you go over to Jeff Petrie, who was able to put up 55 games played, 12 goals, 30 assists for 56 games. Excuse me, I butchered that completely. 55 games played, 12 goals, 30 assists. A very good year for him. And then obviously Nick Suzuki coming in and being an absolute dynamite forward for them. 56 games played, 15 goals, 26 assists. So a very dynamic group of scoring there from the top three producers on the Montreal Canadiens. The big difference, I think, between the offense going into this series has to do with the fact that the Jets have more natural goal scorers than what the Habs do. The Jets are able to get their offense going, and they get a lot of shots on net by a lot of deadly goal scorers, and you can get a couple pass carry price. That's how you win this series. You got to be able to get heavy shots on net, good shots on net, and get your best goal scorers the best opportunities to score. If you do that and you generate them well in 5-on-5 and on the power play with your goal scorers, I think that's the best way, the best outcome you have at winning the series necessarily. And honestly, the Habs, they're a very dynamic group at time when it comes to being able to play well and put 5-on-5 pressure on, I feel like, especially from what I've watched them in this year's playoffs. A lot of heavy, hard-hitting team who fights in the boards, who's very well at being able to play the body and take you away from that. So the Jets are a very offensive-based team. The Habs are more of a two-way style team with one really good goal scorer and a lot of good two-way guys. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. Like I said, if the Jets want to be able to win this series and do it effectively and efficiently, they're going to need to get their top producers in these three guys to score. We already saw what Ehlers and Scheifele and Connor looked like in that first round. Not to throw in the fact that Blake Wheeler had a great first round. Guys like Josh Morrissey, Neil Pionk. The Jets have a ton of weapons, but so do the Habs, and not to mention the fact they've got both those rock star goaltenders back there on their creases. So that is going to, like I said, going to be the big breakdown, I feel like, of this series going forward. It's going to be the goaltending matchup you're going to get, but nonetheless, the offense that you get from both teams is going to be most likely very consistent as well from what we've seen in the playoffs and in the regular season. Now, if you're just asking my thoughts going into this series about what to expect, honestly, it's kind of hard for me. And it's not even to do with the fact that I've had a lot of time to think about this series, because I kind of had a feeling the Leafs were going to win. But deep down, I did think about what each outcome would be, because let's be real, it was hilarious to think of what a second-round matchup between the Habs and the Jets would really mean for the outcome of the NHL. Having the Oilers and the Leafs get knocked out in the first is devastating loss when you think about it for the media in Canada and how they, really push and market the teams. So it's crazy to think that this the outcome even happened with the play and everything, and I'm just looking forward to it. It's going to be very interesting, and I think that there's a lot of potential in this matchup. Now, I'm not trying to sound like a homer when I say this, but I do think the Jets have a very good chance at being potentially able to win this series in 5 to 6 games. Now, I'm not taking anything away from the Montreal Canadiens. I think they're a very good team. They proved that by beating the Leafs. What I think it comes down to is the fact that I think the Jets team is more seasoned in the playoffs, and I think that although Carey Price and Hellebuck are fantastic goalies, I would still right now at this day and age take Connor Hellebuck over Carey Price. Just my personal opinion. If we're talking about right now, what do you done for me lately? I like what last year's Vezina winner and this guy did for me in the first round, so I'm taking him. But yet again, Carey Price, I'm not taking away from everything he's done, just my personal opinion. You're going to have a great goaltending matchup. So if you have a great goaltending matchup in Connor Hellebuck and Carey Price, the big thing I think it's going to come down to is defense. Because your offense can be great, but when you're going up against top-tier goaltending, it can be hard to score goals no matter how many shots you put on net. We know this. We've seen it time and time again in the playoffs. So if you want to be a team to win with great goaltending, you need to have good defense in front. And I think that is actually where the Jets at times can shine compared to where the Habs do. And I'm not saying that the Habs and the Jets have a better defense than the Habs do. I think it's mostly based off of play I saw in the first round. Based off what the Jets were able to do against Connor McDavid and how well they shut him down, I think they can apply that and kind of play a similar type game against the Habs and use that effectively and use that control of the neutral zone, and that could be a big thing to help push them forward. All season long, the Jets extremely lacked the ability to really play well defensively in the neutral zone and in their own end, obviously, as well. But in the first round against the Oilers, what they did really well was to take away the neutral zone for McDavid in that top line to limit them so they didn't have enough clean entries, because let's be real, the Oilers are very dangerous off those entries, and when they have to set up in their own zone off a face-off or whatnot, they might not be able to get the best possession, and they don't generate the best chances at times. They're really good on the rush and coming in through the zone, through the neutral zone, so if you clog that up, you play good defense in there, you limit them. And that's how the Jets won that round. And I think if you apply that same type of strategy to this team and you really bottleneck the center of the ice and you play well in your own defensive end and you play your game of hockey correctly and the Jets poise themselves in a way that they can actually, play physical, match up against a team that's going to be physical. And most importantly, I think another big thing that's going to come into play is making sure you have your bottom six again contribute. I think that there is obviously a lot more scoring in the Jets' bottom six, even though there's been great play from guys like Armia this playoff run for the Habs. I still like the Jets' bottom six better. So if you have the Jets' bottom six and the way they played in that first round, if those guys can show up again, plus the dynamic scoring abilities you get from your top six forward group as it is, I think that can really help push the Jets over the edge and really just lay it all on Carey Price. Because like I said when I was talking about the stats of each player and the top guys on each team, Carey Price and Connor Hellebuck are the best players on both these teams right now. We both know that. All the fans know that. It's just the way it is. We understand that this is going to be a goaltending series with a lot of great goaltending. cracking the goaltender's armor quickly in every game is going to be the way that you can try to get your team motivated and keep that lead and just lead with a lead per se, as I like to go. You want to be able to lead the whole game and try to lead. And if you're going to tie, at least try to have the first lead. You don't want to play catch up to start the first period. That's the one thing you never want to do in a playoff game because it just added pressure and momentum and whatnot and trying to get that shift. You want to be able to balance out your lines and get that goal and put a lot of pressure on perfectly. So I think in this series it's going to come down to which team can get the first goal, which team is more competently defensive, and obviously the goaltending matchup does enough said right there as it is. So I don't think there's much I really have to say other than that because I think these teams are kind of similar in certain areas and also very different, and I'm very looking forward to this. My end thoughts on the series, I am picking the Winnipeg Jets in 6 games. I think that Montreal is going to fight for their life, and I think they're going to show why they actually have a lot more grit and experience in this roster than we might have thought going into that first round against the Leafs as we saw, and I think they're going to carry that energy over to the Jets. I just like the Jets roster better personally, and I think that after that sweep surprise, they have a lot of momentum. They've had a week off. They're prepared. I'm ready for this series. I think the Jets are going to be able to be ready for it too. I picked the Jets in 6 games. Let me know your thoughts on this series, all your potential, what you want to see, what you think needs to happen for each team to win, all your thoughts on this series in the comment section below. As always, I love to read your thoughts going into a series like this. Make sure, like I said at the start of this video, to subscribe, regardless of the team that you root for. Any support you can give this channel is always greatly appreciated. Make sure to follow all my socials down in the description as well, and also make sure to follow the Prairie Puck podcast, where I am a co-host along with my friends Zachary Nolan and Coach Ryan D from Hot Garbage Sports and the Zachary Nolan podcast, respectively. Make sure to go check out that on Spotify. The episodes rotate on all 3 of our channels on YouTube, so subscribe to all 3 of our channels and stay tuned for those. They come out Friday mornings at 7 a.m. PST, 9 a.m. Central Time. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Peg City Hockey. Please make sure to, like I said, drop a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Peace, love, and positivity as always, ladies and gentlemen, and I will see you guys in the next video. Go Jets, go! This is going to be a fun round. Let's get it.